My name is Louise. I'm in Tuam, County Galway. I just want to speak on the property market, how young adults have been completely locked out, and many others for lots of reasons, and just shine a light again on what I believe is the driving force behind outrageous rent prices escalating at speed, and that's not going to improve. And that's the housing assistance payment HAP. Now I want to just read these three testimonies. They're just short, and it's more for the language, because it supports kind of what I want to say next. Now, this is an article, it's from 4 years ago, so it's 100 times worse now. But this was the Journal, 28th of March 2021. And these three, it's a long article, so this is just a clip out of it. Maura, so there's no surnames, had a secure job in healthcare and was on a salary of €41,000. She wanted to buy a house in Dublin, but that seemed impossible at the time. She had been advised that her mortgage would be for a maximum of €140,000, which, as she says, is no mortgage at all. Now, this is a quote. I'm going to quote what Maura said next. I quote, "I very stupidly and naively thought that as a single person with no dependents, because I'd been looking for a much smaller space, I actually thought things would be a little bit more flexible for me. I thought that would be kind of an advantage, but that was very silly." So this is the gaslighting. This is an example of Maura is none of those things. Maura wasn't stupid, naive, or silly. Maura found herself in that position. She was put in it for no other reason than greed and corruption. Now, the next one is Anne-Marie, who lived at the time in Cork, got mortgage approval. She put down a deposit on a house priced at €275,000 based on plans. The house wasn't going to be ready for a year, so she would have to reapply for the mortgage. It would run out, the mortgage approval. But she didn't, it was too good an opportunity to pass up, even though it was a little bit outside her budget. Now, because Anne-Marie was eligible for the Help to Buy scheme, and was also going to borrow money from her family. So she applied for the Help to Buy. She got approved for that, which would have given her €27,500 assistance. The mortgage then for €227,000 then would have been gifted €16,000 from families. So also, she had paid enough tax, remember that word, over the previous 20 years working to get nearly the maximum amount of assistance, I presume. The difficulty for Anne-Marie is because the house is a year away and approval only 6 months, she would need to get an extension. Now, what if her circumstances changed and for some reason wasn't able to work, or she lost her job? So Anne-Marie goes on to say that she thinks it's her opinion that the government should consider extending the HTB scheme to include second-hand homes. Now, to date, that has not happened. I know that will never happen. Because when you know the truth, you just know that's not going to happen. Now, the third one is Sheila, and this is called A Cautionary Tale. 41-year-old artist, dental nurse, based in Wicklow. 14 years previous, she and her sister had bought a house as an investment, and she probably earned a better salary at the time. So herself and her sister were on an average income, but the bank gave them 90% of the mortgage cost. The house sold to them for €400,000. Now, she says that they were young and thought they were doing the right thing. Now, listen to the next part, because the news, it was on the news media that this narrative, soft landing. So Sheila goes on to say that it was a big mistake for her, because her sister's circumstances change, of course, that happens. The sister got married and continued to live at the house, but as they had a decade of job losses, 3-day weeks, maternity leave with the arrival of 2 children, they couldn't find a clear run along the way. Now, bear in mind, this is 2021, which is heading into COVID as well. All of it's inflicted on us. And then the tenant and people in vulnerable positions, they're the failure, because that's what they're listening to. So they're not. These people did nothing wrong. They should have been able to buy the home or do whatever they needed to do. They couldn't find a clear run where the bank would even entertain letting Sheila off, as she wasn't working, even though all the time they had never missed a payment and all of that, but the bank just wouldn't entertain her. So Sheila was left with no option but to rent and try to save. Now, given what she disclosed, I can assume that she was approved for housing assistance payment. So there you go, that's more of it. Now, I'm a tenant of 6 years. I'm not going into the details of it. I've gone through 4 months with no utilities. My utilities on the prepaid meter, the accounts in my name, electricity, internet, home heating, oil, was accessed. My landlord was permitted to access the account in my name and disconnect. And you can imagine the panic and the stress. I had no say. I wasn't informed. I hadn't a clue what was going on. So I'm not going to go into the details. The situation's ongoing. The landlord was permitted. Now, just because, and this is more of it, you've got this gaslighting and all of this stuff going on. Just because you haven't heard of the likes of it and it hasn't happened to you. And we all know, I'm old enough to remember a time that this would have been considered criminal. This just wouldn't happen. So I get it. But just because you haven't experienced does not mean it's not happening. This is happening. And it's escalating at an awful rate. And it's fast approaching you if it hasn't happened to you yet. The Irish tenant in this country is not afforded any human rights. They are extremely vulnerable to abuse of power because the same rules do not apply to all citizens. Absolutely nobody is well entitled to abuse you for profit or for any other reason. Now, bear in mind and I've said this in one of my other videos, the only way they're going to accommodate, and this hasn't even started, the thousands and thousands and thousands that haven't even been brought into the country yet, they're going to have to put the Irish citizen out in the street, and that's what's happening. And bear in mind also that unvetted, undocumented individuals will most likely be approved for housing assistance payment as well along the way. So just bear all of that in mind. Now, this is a system of lawlessness. And this is something that has been brought to my attention. This seems to be happening around the country. This is not my own personal experience, but I want to just give this example here because this is so shocking. Now, this is in a country where perpetrators of heinous crimes are walking free out of courtrooms because the abuse and rape of women and children is not considered a crime now in Irish courts. This is what's considered criminal. Now, the public humiliation and shaming of the Irish mother and child is nothing new under the sun in Ireland. And this is a shining example of it. A mother, a tenant. Now, I don't care what the circumstances are. I don't care if she owes thousands in rent. There is absolutely no justification for an issue like this or a case like this to play out in public. There's no need for it because you do not know the personal circumstances of this person. That to me is shocking, but it's nothing, that's totally normal in Ireland now. So the woman is asked then what age her son is. So because her son is over 18, he should be out. She should be gone out living on his own. He's a bit big. So there's this mocking and humiliation of the mother. Now, every judge in Ireland knows that for an 18 and 19-year-old lad or a girl to go out now and in shared accommodation and pay for a room for €800 a month for shared accommodation is impossible. It cannot be done. So they'll most of them will need, if they qualify or are approved, housing assistance. So that's the kind of mentality. So this Irish mother gets publicly humiliated and shamed over rent arrears, publicly. But the perpetrator of heinous crimes against children walks free out of the courtroom, doesn't even get a slap on the wrist. That's where we're at now. Now, here we have, these are, the HAP as payment came in 2014. It replaced what was called a rent allowance. Now, rent allowance, you could only approve for rent allowance if you weren't working. But that all changed in 2014 with the introduction of this new housing assistance payment cap. So everybody, it's to make it easier for tenants. No, it's not. Now, this is a report in the Irish Examiner, August 2024. The state spends over €2 billion on HAP as gap widens between its limits and average rents. 2024, the budget allocated 525 million. And this will enable continued support for existing tenancies along with funding for 8,800 new tenancies. Now, for the most part, and this isn't meant to offend or pick on or draw attention to any one particular, but for the most part, Irish citizens are enabling it. Now, the taxpayer, if you're working you're out and you're involved in any of the government agencies and these utility providers and everything, the Irish citizen, this is what you're conforming to. You're following orders. And the law-abiding citizen whose rent continues to be paid, my landlord's rent is paid up to date. HAP have no problem. And you, the taxpayer, are paying 80% of this guy's mortgage. This is just this one. He has others. But this is what I'm trying to highlight. And the abuse and the professional misconduct and the way that I've been treated and discriminated against because I'm a tenant. And it was very simple. The guy broke the law, increased the rent illegally, along with his unlawful behaviour, and on and on and on. And that was the truth 18 months ago. That remains the truth. The truth is constant, it doesn't change. And many other individuals along the way jump on the bandwagon to exploit and profit off the suffering of the tenant. As I said, every one of my human rights have been taken from me. Now, this is the plan. And we have a very, very high percentage of people in this country working in either a government job or a job that's government funded, like non-profit charities and all of that. Now, why do you think that is? So while you're comfortable, I am telling you, this is the plan. The system is designed to destroy. It's designed to put us on the street. So your comfort now. Now this is biblical, prophetic truth. It's why I'm standing 4 months without utilities. I'm not even paying the rent. You are. So I'm standing because I know what's coming. I know it's speeding up and I know it's fast approaching. And I don't wish on my worst enemy. So if you're still conforming and you're still obeying man, this is the only reason I'm standing, is for the truth. Because that's what I'm commanded to do. I cannot conform. Never mind the list of crimes that have been committed against me over the last 18 months. Because I suppose he assumed I'd be gone. It's ongoing. And he most definitely will be held accountable.